So let's talk about the Siu Nim Tao. The Siu Nim Tao is the first form of Wing Chun, which is where my master discovered the internal power. It's where Ip Man discovered it, and a side note, it's where my master took it to the next level. So Ip Man, he actually made it public that my master surpassed him in skill level and named him the king of Siu Nim Tao, the king of the first form of Wing Chun. Now, the first form of Wing Chun, the Siu Nim Tao, which you probably have seen, which I'm actually demonstrating now, goes through the different shapes, sequence, and stance on a physical level. And on an internal level, it teaches you how to focus the mind and one's energy. Now, in this form, this is where my master discovered the power. So he practiced day and night. Remember, that was a part of the equation of his discovery, is that he practiced day and night. And in his book, he was talking about how once you discover the power in Siu Nim Tao, power will roar and flow day and night. I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like that. So the Siu Nim Tao form has the secrets of the internal power within it. So even if you just stood there and had the idea of, Tai Gong, back straight, use no force, focus forward, you could discover the internal power. How do we know? Because my master did it. Now, the Siu Nim Tao is the first form of Wing Chun, which means small thought or little idea. Also, it's been known as the intention form. Now, it was created a long time ago. There's many different stories about the origins of Wing Chun, but regardless of which story you believe or which lineage you come from, the Siu Nim Tao is still the first form, regardless of whether it was from Mei, the nun, or whether it was from the Red Boat, or whether it was from some bloke at McDonald's on a Thursday night. Who cares? The point is that the Siu Nim Tao is the first form. Now, why is that important? Because that's the first place that we cultivate the state. Because the physical positionings actually help you to cultivate the internal condition. So having the back upright, having the body focused and triangulated, having the shapes all targeted through the center, all of these different positions help to potentiate the state because of the actual positioning and sequence that you use. So if you lie down and scrunch your body up to the side, then it's going to be much more difficult for you to cultivate the internal power. So the Siu Nim Tao is like the training ground of the state outside of practicing just in stance or practicing lying down or sitting. They're both valid. Practicing while walking is also a valid tool as well, which we'll be putting into this course too to help you evolve. Now, the Siu Nim Tao, in the way Ip Man told my master, who told me, came from Mei and the Shaolin Temple. Yeah, and we all know that the Shaolin Temple is a real place, and we all know that, well, not everyone knows, but you're Kung Fu guys, so you probably do, that the Shaolin was monks and nuns who trained for enlightenment, so this is the highest level of spiritual upliftment for man and woman, of course. When I say man, I mean human. And martial arts. So they would actually protect themselves using Kung Fu, right? So Kung Fu was born from Shaolin, so to speak. I'm summarizing. We could go deep into that. There are books written all about it. But the point is that in my experience, there is great depth to Siu Nim Tao. And, if you really haven't dedicated yourself to really mastering the actual shapes, sequence, and the state within Siu Nim Tao, you're doing yourself a disservice. In my opinion, if you haven't done 10,000 hours of it, then you can't really say that you've gotten anywhere close to understanding its potential, which is why I practice every day with my students. So literally every day, we don't take any days off. We train every morning together, 7 a.m. Sydney time, and we also train in the evenings as well. And we also teach it. And you also want to become it in life, because the state that comes from Siu Nim Tao, which is where it was discovered, so in the small thought form, is a sense of alignment. It's a sense of being centered and calm. It's a sense of being present. It's a sense of being focused. So it's an extremely powerful state. Even if you just scrap all the actual Kung Fu and fighting stuff and just look at how it helps your life, that's definitely actually the most important part and the most beneficial. Because you deal with yourself in life much more than you deal with the people that you fight with, right? That's a small percentage of your life. Now, when you're practicing Siu Nim Tao, this is where you want to cultivate the state. So you're trying to bring the whole state into the Siu Nim Tao. So you practice the different movements whilst in the state. So you lead it with intention, and you're using the different components of the energy work and the mind to manifest the power. Now, something very interesting is that if you don't have the state in your Siu Nim Tao, if you don't have the state in your Wing Chun, then your Wing Chun is much weaker than its potential. I've trained with a lot of different lineages, and the power generated by just structure and supported by tensions in the body doesn't really compare to the power generated internally. So if you can master the internals, it becomes quite overwhelming for external practitioners who use like tucking and tension as a way of support and physical structural support as opposed to the internal connection. So it's a different level of power generation. I'd call the other one force generation. But it's also so much better just for your overall happiness and success in life, because you just feel good. So the Siu Nim Tao, the foundational form of Wing Chun, coming from that spiritual essence, and regardless of whether you think it came from Shaolin or not, it doesn't matter, because there is an essence to it which you can start to experience, to know through training. Now, one last important thing to think about, something that I actually discovered recently, which I find fascinating, is that the original pictogram of the word Nim links to the heart. Apparently, I wasn't there, but apparently in older Chinese culture, Nim and thought was said to originate from the heart itself. So being centered is in your whole center is like a sense of Nim or mind, in that it's not just a thinkingness. That's where there can be a blockage when people think Siu Nim Tao. They think, oh, it's just the mind, and they get forceful with their head, like they're thinking their way into it. And it's not so much a thought, it's more so an experiential overall holistic awareness of your energetic body and the qualities in it. So it's much more than just a thought. If it was just a thought, I could think about French fries and that'd be enough. But, it's not just a thought. It's an overall condition. It's a state. That's why we call it the state, the state of internal power. Okay, so there's a little bit of background for you on Siu Nim Tao. You're going to be practicing that a lot if you're in Wing Chun, and it's a great place to cultivate the internal power, to cultivate the state, to align yourself, to let go, and to also get the good shape so that when you do practice your combat, you have all the shapes ready to explode to defend you. Okay, if you have any questions, you know where to put them, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson.